Hello, I'm going to perform a poem titled Little Red Riding Hood Christmas that I wrote, and I would love for you to play an instrument to accompany me, any instrument you like. Let's jam together and create something new. So here we go. Little Red Riding Hood Christmas. She skipped along a path in the wood, singing, wearing her favorite red plaid cape, swinging a basket full of cherry pies and strawberry shortcakes. I'm going to see my grandma, we'll eat lots of pie and cake. I know you're behind that tree, Mr. Wolf, don't eat me for heaven's sake. Mr. Wolf shrank behind the tree. How unusual. She didn't usually address him directly. She usually just skipped along, and he usually jumped out at her, and she usually got scared, even though she knew he was there, and she knew he knew she knew. She stopped by his tree and sang, I see you behind that tree, Mr. Wolf, come out and be my playmate. Mr. Wolf couldn't believe his ears. She was practically walking into his mouth. But he wasn't hungry at the moment, so he decided to go along with her, set himself up for a nice snack later. Arm in arm, they skipped to Grandma's house. Grandma usually never got to see him pass the front door because he usually gobbled her up and as soon as she opened the door. But this time he didn't. Grandma was happy to see Mr. Wolf smiling and being so friendly. They had lots of fun decorating the tree with cranberries and popcorn, golden pine cones and angels. Then they ate cherry pie and strawberry shortcake, drank milk and mulled cider. Mr. Wolf ate so much he fell asleep by the fire. Red stroked his fur, and Grandma rocked in her chair. When Mr. Wolf woke, the fire had gone out. He was hungry again, had a headache from all that sugar and wheat. He wasn't accustomed to eating pies and cakes. A wolf needs fresh meat and bones to gnaw after. Red saw that gleam in Mr. Wolf's eye and backed off. Grandma? But Grandma had fallen asleep. The wolf's whiskers twitched. Her knees were so juicy and plump. Such luscious-looking skin, he said. He sniffed her. I'd like to eat you. Took another sniff and shivered. I'd love to eat you! But just then, Father Time flew down the chimney and stepped out into the living room. Ho, ho, ho! Merry! What is this? Everyone is awake. You should all be asleep. And look, someone has eaten all my pie and cake. I'm very disappointed. Have you no cookies even? Grandma woke and jumped up. Of course we do. I saved your treat aside especially. And she bustled off into the kitchen. Mr. Wolf was still looking at Red longingly, but he couldn't do anything because Father Time was standing on his tail, and Red was just out of reach. Mr. Wolf, how fortunate for me that you are here. I will give you your delicious, tasty present now. That saves me a trip to your den. Besides, you only ever leave me dead squirrels to eat. Father Time rummaged in his bag. Mr. Wolf drooled. A delicious present for me? And I get to keep my squirrels? Oh, what could my present be? Here it is, Mr. Wolf. Enjoy. You deserve it. Mr. Wolf snatched the heavy stocking. Father Time lifted his foot, and Mr. Wolf ran all the way home. Burrowed deep in his den, he stuffed his paws in the stocking. Inside were lumps of coal. Confused, he looked in the stocking, but there was nothing else. The coal didn't look very delicious. He sniffed it. Didn't smell delicious either. But Father Time did say it was delicious, and he wouldn't lie, would he? So the wolf gobbled up all the coal, it instantly clogged his intestines, and he died. Back at Grandma's house, Red had run over to Father Time and hugged him. "Oh, thank you, Father Time. He was going to eat me. He was going to eat me." "Red, come here." He sat her on his knee and smiled at her in a real friendly way. "You were such a sweet, innocent girl, so pretty in your little red cape. You have to be careful of wolves. You shouldn't be nice to them and give them pies and cakes and cookies and think that will make them your friend. Remember the tale of a wolf in sheep's clothing. A wolf will always be a wolf, no matter how he disguises himself." Then he smiled until all his teeth showed and patted her thigh a little too high up. What he didn't know was that Grandma's friend, the woodsman, had come in through the back door with more wood for the fire. He was listening the whole time. Beneath that curly white wig and beard, he recognized this guy from a wanted poster he'd seen in the forest. Now he crept up behind that fake Father Time and bashed his head in with the butt of his axe. The woodsman buried the wolf and the crook in a joint grave. The gravestone read, "Here lie two fools, one red, one blue. Learn their lesson, or you'll die too." Red skipped along a path in the wood and came across a wolf lounging against a tree. "What beautiful eyes you have," said the wolf. "The better to see you with," she said. "What a pretty voice you have," he said. "The better to scream with," she said. "What pearly white teeth you have," he said. "The better to bite your nose off." And she bit his nose off and ran away. The end. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to listen to what you have done and what we've created together. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.